Kyle Lowry and the Toronto Raptors have lost 4 of their last 5 in Toronto. They'll look to buck that trend versus the Wizards, who've been knocking off some top-tier teams, Sam. And the Pacers will face the Timberwolves for the second time in 3 days, but this time around, Karl Anthony Towns returns to the lineup for Minnesota after missing the last 14 games with a knee injury. Guys, it's Friday. We got a show to do.
Let's do it.
Hey. Well, if you're in one of those colder areas around the country, we're here to heat things up for you. Welcome to the warm-up presented by Ford. Chris Miles here with former Coach of the Year, Sam Mitchell.
How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing great, and a guy that hit 11 three-pointers in an NBA game. That's how I look at you.
But you know how you do that, though? You got to pass the ball, Chris.
You don't know nothing about that.
You don't know about that.
Selfish point guard.
Come on, man. Pass the ball.
Shoot
All right,
first.
How about this line? Fellas, we start tonight's show with one of the greatest young players the game has ever seen. Luka the Don has earned that distinction in his first 2 years. The Mavericks host the Portland Trailblazers tonight at 9:30 Eastern. Luka has joined some rare company this year already. Luka has 12 25-point triple-doubles this season. Only the other 2 guys on that list have done it quicker in a single season. Luka's 20 triple-doubles before turning 21 are more than double that of LeBron and Magic combined at that age. 3D, Luka turns 21 at the end of February. Has he had the best career for anyone before they turn 21?
Great question. So far, the numbers say
Not saying
so.
best player, but career.
Well, so far, the numbers, challenge that question or give you the thinking that could be the fact. What I want to point out, though, Sam, is that he has checked all the boxes. When you get drafted, how you handle your rookie year, when you go home for the summer, what do you bring back? And he's shown me now his toughness is there. So then, Sam, I had to do some extra research, like, well, why did he slip? Why didn't he go number 1? So
Makes no sense now.
Well, it lets you think about, sometimes we overanalyze guys. Sometimes we look at the tape from guys overseas and say, well, the tape doesn't make sense. It looks too slow. Then you see him in person, you go, wait a minute, maybe my eyes are perceiving me. When you come back your second year and he's putting up the triple-doubles the way he's doing it, he's making everyone around him better. Tim Hardaway, Finney Smith, all those guys around him, Powell, all these guys are playing better basketball when he's on the floor, Sam. So that lets me know they missed the little thing. Lastly, they say, well, he was a little immature. Maybe that's why he slipped. Well, he was only 16, 17 years old playing European basketball, getting
How can
MVP.
he be immature?
Right? So then he rips his jersey the other day, and everyone kind of freaks out a little bit. Social media goes crazy. So I said, if we slipped up because he was 16 or 17 years old, ripping his jersey overseas, and that's why he didn't go number 1, then we missed out.
Well, he's not like a Houston Astros player because they can't rip their jersey.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
Where are you on this, Sam? 21 years young. Is he has the best start to his career at that age?
Yeah, but Chris, we got to start putting this thing in eras, man. I mean, it is unfair to talk about Wilt Chamberlain like he didn't exist. Like, people forget, what would Wilt, in the era in which he played, I would say this, in the past 25 years, yes. Of course, Luka Doncic, look, what he's doing right now is unprecedented. He's playing, look, rebounding, scoring, assists. The thing that blows my mind, to Dennis' point, when you start talking about overanalyzing why he wasn't the number 1 pick, look, I can see if Luka was 6'1",
right,
6'2",
right.
But in today's NBA, you're telling me Paul George and Kawhi Leonard can't play together. That's what you're saying. You're saying LeBron James couldn't play with Dwayne Wade in Miami.
Right.
And that's what you're saying. So at 6'8", this is the thing. Forget the position. He can play multiple. He can play the 1, 2, 3, or the 4.
Do we have positions now?
Yes, basketball today
really
is position. It's about skill.
Who has a skill with the ball in their hand that can make plays for their team and win more ball games?
If your 6'10" guy is your best ISO guy, guess what's going to happen? The coach going to draw up plays to get him ISOs.
So that's one 20-year-old. How about the other 20-year-old rookie in Memphis? First of all, the Grizzlies are currently in a playoff spot. I know we're only halfway through the season.
That's halfway.
They've won 6 straight
Chris,
games.
stop saying that, Chris. Take that out your vocabulary. You had to play the games.
They've won 6 straight. They're a must-watch team.
No question.
Are they a playoff team as well this year, 3D?
As the fourth quarter the other night, the way they handled the Houston Rockets, and obviously to Sam's point, they're an ISO team and less dribbles, less passes. When you play against better teams that have better movement, we'll see if your defense can hold up like you showed me the other night in the fourth quarter. Excuse me. That's the only thing that concerns me with this young team. Offensively, the ball is hopping, they share, they're so unselfish, but sometimes that defense in the fourth quarter, Sam, they give up easy layups, they give up wide open shots, they miscommunicate on one of their rotations. If they can shore that up, they should be able to fight for that 8th spot.
This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to say yes from this standpoint. Right now, they're in the playoffs. I mean, for us to sit here and talk about the teams that are 9 and below, it's ridiculous. Right now, the Memphis Grizzlies are a playoff team. Now, the question is, can they hold on to it? Can they move up? Can they solidify that spot? Look, time is going to tell, but one thing that's dangerous about this Memphis team right now, they're young and they're playing with a lot of confidence. And they don't know that they're supposed to be playing this good this early in the Western Conference. They didn't get the memo. They didn't listen to all this talk, us so-called experts up here saying that they're still 2 years away. Look, confidence is a funny thing. If you got a lot of it, it just permeates throughout your team. And right now, this basketball team is playing with a lot of confidence. And this young man, Ja Morant, is leading that. So do I think they can sustain it to 3D point? Yeah, but they're going to have to start tightening up some defense and tighten up some things. And it's going to get tougher after the All-Star break. But right now, they are a NBA playoff team. And as hard as they play and as competitive as they are, it's going to be hard for someone just to knock them off.
And Chris and Sam, what I enjoyed up close is they have the mixture of, yes, they shoot their amount of threes, and Coach Jenkins is giving them the freedom to play and get out and flourish. But when in doubt, they miss 4 or 5 jump shots. Hey, Valanciunas,
there you go.
Turn 5, get your big butt down low, and we're going to throw it to you.
We need a basket.
As soon as he scored 3 quick baskets, he got double-teamed, and they got wide-open shots. So Coach Jenkins has figured out a way. It's okay, analytics, shoot more threes. If you're open, that second unit come in with Grayson Allen and all those guys, they're shooting a lot of threes. Dorsey, they're shooting a lot of threes. I'm like, okay, I get it. But when things slowed down, that young man right there, Coach Jenkins said, you know what, analytics, I'm going to throw a little old school basketball back in here and post some guys up.
So 3D, you bring up a great point because you just mentioned Taylor Jenkins. And Sam, you've had a young team in Minnesota when you had Levine, Wiggins, and Towns. To be able to get them to produce like that, I mean, there should be some recognition in what he's accomplishing with this young group now.
I mean, first of all, it's fun to coach a young team. Think about it from this standpoint. You don't have those egos that are set in NBA ways. Now think about that.
Say that again, Sam.
You don't have those egos that are set in NBA way. Right now, when I watch Memphis, name one player during their interview who talks about my team and my guys. Who talks?
None of them.
So right now, if I'm going to give Taylor Jenkins some advice, keep it just like it is. Keep these guys thinking about we, not me, and keep reminding them, this is all of our team. It's not one guy team. And if you want to get specific, it's the owner's team, the ownership group. Other than that, we are all a part of this thing that we're trying to build. And it's not, I cringe sometimes when I hear guys talk about my guys and my this and my that. You know, it's us, it's we. Yeah, you may be the best player on the team, but guess what? I'll tell you this. When I played high school football, we had a running back used to talk about me all the time. The coach told the offensive line, the first play of the game, don't block. By the 3rd time they did it, he came back to the huddle and apologized to each and everybody on that line. Because guess what? We're like this. We need everybody.
Okay, in that case, Sam, in case you have any problems with me, I'm sorry. I don't even know what I'm apologizing
I'm just
for.
not
I just don't want
you
to be an offensive lineman and leave me hanging like that.
Pass the ball.
Just pass.
Speaking of which, how about Ben Simmons distributing the rock, scoring the rock his last 2 games?
Benji.
22 points a game, 10 rebounds a game.
Who needs to shoot threes when I
Score.
Keep attacking,
That's what
Benji.
Joel Embiid out.
You don't need no threes, man. Just
You're watching a warm-up presented by Ford.
Built Ford proud.
Don't forget about the reigning champion Toronto Raptors. They welcome the Washington Wizards north of the border tonight. Well, we would like to welcome in Doug Smith, who covers the Raptors for the Star Tribune and has been doing it since Sam was a head coach in Toronto. How about that?
I've been doing it since Sam was a player.
That's how long I've been doing it.
Dog.
Well, let's talk about the popularity of this Raptors team. Currently voted, Pascal Siakam voted by fans as an all-star starter. The Raptors third in the league in merchandising sales. To you, is this the most popular the Raptors have been in general for the fan base around the league?
Yeah, it's there's a hangover from the championship for sure. And frankly, they were really popular when Vince was at the height of insanity in 2000, 2001. But this is constant now. Like this is they sell every ticket they got. They got great TV ratings here in Canada. They had great Christmas Day TV ratings in the States for the Boston game. It's been a very good team for like 4 or 5 years, and I think people are appreciating it and starting to realize that they're not a fluke. It's a very good franchise. It's a staple in the playoffs every year.
And speaking of no fluke, Doug, we knew Kyle would come back and play well, and obviously when we know Siakam got the extension, he was worth it. But a guy like Van Fleet, he's proven us that he's legit. He could possibly be a starting point guard. Is he available tonight? We know he's been banged up. What's his latest of his status?
He's not going to play tonight, Dennis. He's going to play tomorrow night in Minnesota. He's been out 4 games. This will be his 5th tonight with a hamstring. And you're right. He's a legit starting point guard in the NBA. Great three-point shooter. And he just plays smart. Like he gets them organized, and that takes a lot of pressure off Kyle Lowry. And they may be small, but they're tough, and so they can defend. And Nick Nurse uses them together in crunch time of close games all the time, and it's been successful.
Doug, when you look at this Raptors team with the rash of injuries they've had this year, and they're still keeping their head above water, playing good basketball, I'm starting to think, what is the new ceiling for this team? Because everybody's the foregone conclusion is that the Milwaukee Bucks is going to win the East. But come playoff time, if this Raptors team is healthy, and I saw that lineup Nick had out there with Marc Gasol, Ibaka, OG, Pascal, and Kyle. Will we see that in the playoffs against the Bucks? And do we now think the new ceiling is that the Raptors are going to defend their Eastern Conference Championship?
Well, Sam, they're going to start that same big lineup again tonight. So we're going to see it a lot more in the last half of the year because I think they want to experiment so that when it comes to playoffs and they got to change things up, they're used to what they got to change to. I'm not sure it's sustainable over 40 games, but in a 7-game series against a very big Philadelphia team, against the Milwaukee team that can run out Lopez and Giannis, you want that big lineup to be able to work together. And you're seeing it. I think one thing that people might underestimate with the Raptors, they know how to win. And I think in the postseason, they figure stuff out. And I think they're going to be a really tough out. I've always thought they had as good a chance as anybody to win the East again. And nothing in the first 41 games this year has changed my mind.
Well, certainly seeing how they started the season at 19-8 when they were completely healthy, it's hard to argue against what you just said. But then looking at Masai Ujiri and the deals that he's pulled off in the past, bringing in Kawhi Leonard, as the trade deadline approaches, do you see him possibly making a deal to try to compete for a championship, or do you think he's content with the squad that he has now to try to compete?
I don't think he and Bobby Webster really know what they got because they've been so hurt for so long with so many different guys out. They lost Ibaka and Lowry for 10 games. They lost Siakam, Gasol, and Powell for 11. They've lost Fred now for 5. I don't think they know what they got, and I think that would lead him to stick with what he has. I don't think he's going to spend any money in the 21 summer year. So I don't think there's an ad. I think there might be a trade out there that makes him different. I don't think there's a trade out there that makes him any better. And I think because he wants to see what he has, I would be shocked if he makes any kind of significant move in early February.
And Doug, one last one for you. Is the kid Chris Boucher, am I saying his name right? Is he for real? Is it time for him to grow? Because he's had some moments where, to our conversation coming into this year, I didn't see this coming out of him.
I would love to say yes because he's a great story. Kid came out of nowhere, bounced around, blew a knee out last year at college. I would love to say he's a 20-minute-a-night NBA rotation guy, but I don't think so. I think he's a little bit too skinny. I think he's a little bit too, I don't know if absent-minded is the right word, but I don't think his attention to defensive detail is where you need it to be to win a championship. But he's an intriguing player, and if he's your 4th or 5th big man, you're okay. But I'm not sure he's a 20-minute-a-night guy.
Good stuff.
All right, Doug Smith, make sure that Sam doesn't bother you anymore next time you see him. I know you got his voice in your head for the last 20 years.
Hey, Doug,
Trust me.
this coming
I know
from
how that
somebody
works.
who has no friends, okay? And don't know how to form relationships that endure, okay? So just consider the source.
All right, Doug,
missed you
thanks
up
for
here,
stopping by
pal.
the
We missed
warm-up. Don't let him get to you, Doug. Don't let him get
My
to you.
pleasure.
Oh, I'm sorry. He does have a friend now. You had a child, so she might like you until she starts talking, and then you better stop talking so much.
How about this, Sam? Let's get back to business and looking at the Raptors and the fact that over
You're
the
gonna
last...
leave me alone. I keep telling you that. Now we can go.
I'm a bully to bully. No, over the last 9 games, they've alternated wins, haven't won consecutive games in almost a month. And when you look at Toronto, what they've been over the past 5 or 6 years as far as their consistency, do you view that as just, look, they're struggling with injuries and trying to figure out who they are, or is there something else we're not seeing?
Think about this, man. They are 2 games in the loss column back of being the number 2 seed. So with all that they've been through, look at all the players they've lost. Look at all the injuries they've had. Look how many times Nick Nurse has had to juggle that lineup. I remember early in the season when I was up there doing games, he was only playing 8 guys because he didn't want to play the bench. He didn't have any confidence in them. And then as the injuries started to amount, someone asked him about the bench again, and he said, guess what? I guess I'm going to have to learn how to start liking the bench. So when you look at the maturation of this team, and Doug said one thing, 3D, that sticks with me. They are tough. When you watch them, when you know these players, Kyle and Pascal and OG and Mark, sir, they are tough-minded players, and they don't give in. It will not surprise me, one, if they finish 2, and once they get healthy with that big lineup, and then they're able to go big and small. Because think about this, Chris. When you put Serge Ibaka at the 5, and you go Pascal and OG and Kyle and Fred, some people would think you're small, but your front line is almost 6'10" across and long.
Yeah.
So they can come at you in multiple ways, and the fact that they're a veteran team that won a championship, man, they're going to be, no one's going to want to play them. And my prediction is, I don't know who they'll play. I would imagine Milwaukee, but we may see a matchup of Milwaukee-Toronto again.
3D, Sam said something very interesting there in the sense of we always focus on stars on teams and the best players, but he said guys that know how to win. I mean, this is still the reigning championship team, sans Kawhi Leonard, but how crucial is that for this group that they know that they can win together?
Remember when Detroit won their championship, everyone's like, there's no real superstar. They have 5 guys that
2004.
they played together, played the right way, they defended. To Sam's point, Nick Nurse's point, they are tough. They're going to play the defense. I think most people question who's going to be that closer for them, who's going to be that guy we say when things go bad, we can give the ball to him. Well, I think Siakam's kind of answered that question now, and I think the fans have answered that question
Think about
as well.
this, really. If they win it this year without a so-called superstar, it's going to upset the entire NBA because guess what? GM's a copycat league. They're going to be sitting back saying, I just need 5 good players. Let's build a team. Instead, in the past, it's been, let me go get a superstar and build around it.
And that's why Masai and other GMs aren't always copycats. Yes, you need a superstar. Yes, you took the chance on Kawhi and you won. You got your ring, and now everyone says, wait a minute.
They got superstars. They developed one.
They developed
your own.
There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, Pascal Siakam currently voted as an all-star starter.
Developed homegrown.
I'm not done. That's why I asked Doug the question, too, because sometimes, once again, when you're up in Toronto, you're not one of those so-called, once again, sexy markets. You don't get a chance to look at Van Fleet very closely and see how good he is. So then I started asking players.
Freddie getting ready to get paid.
No disrespect to all of our great writers.
Freddie getting ready to get paid.
Listen to me. I said, no disrespect to none of our writers at all. I want to talk to a player. Hey, Russell, how good is Van Fleet? Hey, Chris Paul, how good is Van? Because those are the guys that have to try to stop him every night. So when the players tell me Fred VanVleet's good, check, he's good, and that's why Doug Smith gets confirmed. Yes,
Freddie
indeed
getting
he is.
to get paid.
Yes, indeed.
You know who else might check that box if we decided to take a survey around the league? Domantas Sabonis. At least the Timberwolves would
I
say
asked the
so.
players again. Another one. Check.
29 points on Wednesday night against them, but Karl Anthony
got paid, though.
making his
He got the big
return
cat to deal with tonight
for Minnesota after missing the last 14 games.
He's got the big cat to deal with.